radio viewers, you're watching us on the Radio Television English News Edition. Here are our top stories for this evening. For the new year 2020, the President of the Republic extends his best wishes for health and prosperity. The head of state presided over the work of the Council of Ministers this morning at the Presidential Palace. Concerning the fire incidents in Australia, thousands of people trapped on beaches. Thank you for joining us in our newsroom. It is the New Year's Eve, and indeed the President of the Republic has extended his best wishes to his fellow citizens. Let's listen to the President.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله الصلاة والسلام على رسوله الأمين سيدنا وحبيبنا محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم. Mes chers compatriotes, nous voici au seuil d'une nouvelle année. L'occasion pour moi de vous souhaiter à tous et à toutes mes meilleurs vœux de santé, de bonheur et de prospérité.
My fellow countrymen, here we are on the verge of a new year. I would like to take this opportunity to wish you all the very best of health, happiness, and well-being. At a time when many of us will be celebrating the entry into the new year with joy and excitement, I want us to think, first of all, very sincerely and very emotionally of our fellow countrymen who are diminished by the trials of life. We pray to the Almighty for their speedy recovery. I also want us, on the eve of this new year, to think strongly of our defense and security forces which are invested, body and soul, in the protection of ourselves and our nation. My fellow countrymen, the past year has been rich in events that have allowed our country to continue on the path of economic development. But sadly, this year has also been marked by unprecedented floods that have affected many of our fellow citizens. I would like to commend the spirit of solidarity and mutual assistance of Djiboutians that enabled us to overcome this ordeal. I would also like to commend the commitment of friendly countries that have been shown to us in these painful circumstances. My fellow countrymen, year after year, our country continues its transformation. We can look back with pride and celebrate the progress we have made and plead for our socio-economic and political gains. But this and other achievements must, on the contrary, allow us to project ourselves into the future. These achievements should fill us with hope and optimism and convince us that our future depends entirely on us, on our capacity, on our mobilization, and our commitment. My dear citizens, our ambition for our nation is intact. For this ambition is supported, nurtured, and maintained by the will of us all, and this ambition is already becoming a reality before our eyes, step by step, thanks to our vision, our strategy, and our major projects. This new year, 2020, will therefore find us again on the path of our ambition and in the continuity of our policies and commitments. Once again, this year, the government will continue on the path of reforms aimed at making our public service more efficient and effective, but also reforms aimed at making our private sector more dynamic and more attractive. The government will again this year ensure that our growth is more inclusive, both economically and socially. And once again, this year, the government will listen to your concerns and aspirations, for it is, above all, your ideas, proposals that serve as the guiding thread for the government's policy. My fellow countrymen, if our country counts in this region, it is not just because of its strategic position. It is also about who we are as a country, our values, and our principles. That is why we are proud of what we are, a nation at peace, a nation that promotes tolerance and brotherhood. It is also this message of peace, tolerance, and fraternity that we want to share with the international community in the new year. My dear citizens, I renew to you once again my best wishes for health and prosperity in the new year. Long live the Republic of Djibouti.
Mes chers compatriotes, je vous renouvelle encore mes meilleurs vœux de santé et de prospérité pour la nouvelle année. Vive la République de Djibouti. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Under the leadership of the head of state and head of the government, Ismail Margeli, the 25th session of the Council of Ministers was held, where 12 items were on the agenda. Let's listen to the report of the Minister of Foreign Affairs, who is also the government spokesman on these 6 questions.
Rahman Rahim, sous la présidence du chef de l'État, son Excellence M. Ismail Margeli, s'est tenue la 25e séance du Conseil des ministres en ce mardi 31 décembre 2019. Étaient inscrites à l'ordre du jour 12 questions.
First question, draft law establishing the Djibouti Multisectoral Regulatory Authority. The purpose of this bill is to establish the Djibouti Multisectoral Regulatory Authority. Our country has important assets, a port of regional scope, an efficient telecommunication system, and renewable energy resources. In order to attract investment and improve the business climate, it is necessary to create a favorable environment that provides clear, transparent, and predictable guidelines for all stakeholders. The draft law aims to establish a multi-sectoral regulatory body in charge of telecommunications and energy sectors. This independent authority will strengthen the existing legal and regulatory framework and will allow the separation of the regulatory function from that of service provision. The main task will be to create a supervised conditions for fair competition, boost the national economy, and ensure non-discriminatory and affordable access. This framework will also serve to establish better conditions for the regulated sectors. Ministry of Energy in charge of national resources. Second question. Bills approving the financial accounts of the International Hydrocarbon Corporation of Djibouti for the financial years of 2016 and 2017. The final accounts of the International Hydrocarbon Corporation of Djibouti for the financial years 2016-2017 shows that gross operating surpluses remain positive and confirm the good performance of this establishment. During these financial years, the corporation activities continue to secure fuel supplies and to import petroleum products at affordable prices. Ministry of Defense in charge of relations with Parliament. Third question, draft order approving the 2020 provisional budget of the Military Retirement Fund. The provisional budget of the Military Retirement Fund for the financial year 2020 is set at 2.2 billion Djiboutian francs in expenditures. The provisional income of the budget is increasing mainly due to the various promotions of military personnel. This budget takes into account the implementation of the control of technical expenses. Ministry of Economy and Finance in charge of industry. Question number 4. Draft order adopting the provisional budget for the year 2020 of the Djibouti Partial Credit Guarantee Fund. The provisional budget of the Djibouti Partial Credit Guarantee Fund for the financial year 2020 has been set at 60 million Djiboutian francs in income and expenditure. The fund is a specialized financial institution whose mission is to contribute to the development and promotion of a private sector and a network of small and medium-sized enterprises or modern industries capable of promoting the economic and social development of our country. This budget will enable the Djibouti Partial Credit Guarantee Fund to help and improve the conditions of access to financing businesses. Fifth question. Draft order approving the provisional budget for 2020 of the National Meteorological Agency of Djibouti. The provisional budget of the National Meteorological Agency of Djibouti for the financial year 2020 has been set at 254 million Djiboutian francs in income. This 2020 budget is intended to pursue the objectives and missions assigned to it, in particular to meet the need for meteorological assistance for air safety, to strengthen assistance in maritime meteorology, and to monitor climate change.
The Council of Ministers has then considered and approved other legislations. Let's hear it to the rest of the report.
Une question est relative à un projet d'arrêté portant approbation du budget prévisionnel pour l'exercice 2020.
Ministry of Agriculture, Water, Fisheries, Livestock and Fishery Resources. Sixth question. Draft order adopting the draft 2020 provisional budget of the National Food Analysis Laboratory. The provisional budget for the financial year 2020 of the National Laboratory of Food Analysis is set at 483 million Djiboutian francs. In 2020, the laboratory will achieve the improvement of the quality of imported food products through better monitoring and the establishment of an integrated system of health control. Support for the emergence of a food industry at the national level, the provision for the food industry provisional of rapid and reliable diagnostic tools, and the establishment of network of surveillance and health monitoring. Ministry of the Budget. Seventh question. Draft order on the allocation of a plot of land to the Ministry of Labor in charge of the reform of the administration. Eighth question. Draft order on the final concession of a plot of land located in Balbala South. Ninth question. Draft order on the allocation of plot of land located in Nagat to the Higher Institute of Accounting and Administration of Enterprises. 10th question. Draft order on the transfer of property rights on 2 pieces of urban land built for the benefit of the Embassy of Saudi Arabia in Djibouti. 11th question. Draft order on the allocation of a plot and land to the Ministry of Energy in charge of national resources. The Ministry of Budget presented several texts. The purpose of the first draft order is to allocate a plot of land with a surface area of 3,000 square meters at Salem West to the Ministry of Labor and make it available to the National Social Security Fund. This plot is intended for the establishment of a maternity hospital. The second project grants to the Ministry of Defense the final concession on the 89.5 hectare plot of undeveloped land located in Balbala South. intended for the establishment of social housing. The third draft order is related to the allocation of a plot of land with surface area of 10,000 square meters located in Nagat for the benefit of Higher Institute Accounting and Business Administration, intended for the establishment of a private institute for higher education. The fourth draft decree transfers the ownership of two urban plots of land, one subscribed in the name of National Education and the other called the Islamic Institute. These plots will be transferred in the name of the Embassy of Saudi Arabia in Djibouti. Finally, the fifth draft decree aims at allocating a plot of land with a surface area of 12.43 hectares in the Demerjog sector. This plot of land is made available to the company Craig Jeep Sas for the construction of a renewable energy park. This project will help support a national energy policy. Communications. The Minister of Town Planning, Environment and Tourism reported on his participation in the 25th season of the Conference of the Parties to the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, which was held from 2 to 13 December 2019 in Madrid. He also made a mission report on the 22nd season of the Arab Ministerial Council on Tourism and on the signing of the Memorandum of Understanding between Saudi Arabia and Djibouti, which were held from 22nd to 24th December 2019 in Saudi Arabia.
The President of the National Assembly, Mr. Mohammed Ali Hamad, received this morning at the headquarters of the House of Representatives the President of the National Human Rights Committee, Suleiman Omar Aden, accompanied by his closest assistants. This was submitted by Mr. Suleiman Omar Aden, Chairman of the National Human Rights Commission, who reported on the activities carried out by this human rights institution for the 2 years 17 in the 2000. This report highlights the foundation taxes, prospects, and future aspirations and recommendations issues by the foundation. This organization has published television advertisements dedicated to advertise the institution with the citizens and establishing branches for institution in the interior regions. Under the high patronage of the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Mr. Mohammed Ali Hamad, the National Assembly continued this morning the work of the second plenary session of the second regular session of the year 2000. This event took place in the presence of the Prime Minister, Mr. Abdul Qadir Kamil Mohammed, members of the government and parliamentaries, and on the agenda of this session was a financial bill number 61 for the second legislature issued in the year 2019 and related to the final settlement of the state budget for the year 2018, and draft law number 69 of the second legislature issued in the year 2019 related to the state budget of the 2020. This session witnessed constructive and fruitful discussions between the elected people and members of the government. It was during the work of this session a question was asked by one of the parliamentarians regarding a shortage of public transportation, where citizens suffer during the peak time from lack of access to transportation. In response to this question, the Minister of Transport talked about the problems faced by citizens during the past few weeks by drivers of transportation, bus drivers, who raised the price, demanding an increase in the amount, stressing that the ministry held a working meeting on the topic in which many parties concerned, such as the National Palace and the Mayor of Djibouti City, participated. The Mayor of Djibouti City, bus and bus unions, and so on, to work together and reach a final solution to solve this problem. We have reached a partial solution, he said. The minister said that if a committee concerned with the transportation established in the National Assembly, as the committee is said to participate in the meetings that the Ministry of Transport will hold regarding this issue. Tomorrow, Wednesday, the 1st of January 2020, the Palestinian people will celebrate the 55th anniversary of the beginning of the Palestinian Revolution and the launch of the Fatah movement. On this occasion, the Palestinian ambassador to Djibouti, who is also the Dean of the Diplomatic Corps in our country, Camille El-Kazaz, issued a statement today in which he recalled the statelessness of the Palestinian people and their struggle to establish their Palestinian state with Jerusalem as its capital. The ambassador stressed that the Palestinian Revolution began on 1st January 1965 under the auspices of the martyr and the late President Yasser Arafat and the birth of the Palestinian National Liberation Movement called Fatah, which was an important turning point on the path of the resistance movement after the catastrophe and that struck the Palestinian people in 1948. The Palestinian ambassador to Djibouti stated in his statement that this anniversary comes at a very dangerous, fateful time on Palestinian issue where the colonization and the burial, but also the apartheid wall is increasing and the escalation of oppression, injustice and terrorism perpetrated by the Israeli occupying forces against Palestinian people, he said. On the other hand, the Palestinian ambassador called on the international community to assume its legal and moral responsibilities towards the Palestinian people and take decisions to protect them from the crimes committed by the Israelis. At the end of his speech, Mr. Kamil Al-Ghazaz addressed the wish millers to the President of the Republic, Mr. Ismail Omar Guelleh, in his government, and to the people of Djibouti on the occasion of the New Year 2020, praising the material and moral support of Djibouti is giving to the Palestinian people at all stages of their struggle to establish their independent state with Jerusalem as its capital. The ceremony of the scuba diving tourism training certificates has been organized by the National Tourist Office of Djibouti, ONTD. Details with Dini Musa.
The National Tourist Office of Djibouti organized the ceremony of the scuba diving tourism training certificates, aimed at young people who have demonstrated their determination and passion for the seabed throughout their training. This ceremony is part of the category project to support the development and promotion of tourism in Djibouti and moreover brought together a group of personalities including Colonel Mohammed Jami' Dole, Commander of the Republican Guard, and Colonel Wa'is Omar Bokhari, Commander of the Coast Guard, the Secretary General of the Ministry of Urban Planning and Tourism, Dini Abdullah Umar, the focal point of the integrated framework, Mrs. Hiba Ahmadiba, the Director of NFF, Mrs. Mahmoud Omar Guelleh, the Secretary General of the Chamber of Commerce, Mrs. Hebu Usman Ahmed, as well as the Director General, Mr. Usman Abdi Muhammad.
A ceremony for the reception of a donation of a Zodiac-type patrol boat from the Ministry of Interior, represented by the Executive Secretary of Disaster Risk Management, Mr. Ahmed Mohamed Madar, and the Director General of the Owners, Mr. Hussein Hassan Dirar, took place at the fishing port on December 30, 2019, for the benefit of the Djiboutian Coast Guards, represented by Colonel Wa'is Omar Bokhari, Commander of the Coast Guard. The reception of this news will allow the reinforcement of the Coast Guard's capacities in its multiple surveillance missions to preserve maritime security. In his brief intervention, Colonel Wa'is Omar Bokhari stressed the importance of this type of launch for search and rescue in the low-tide areas, and in the case of the floods, Colonel Wa'is Omar Bokhari has pledged that this Zodiac will maintain and put to good use in search and rescue operations. The General Manager of the Djibouti Telecom, Mohamed Assoui Bouha, held a press conference on the new 4G Plus offers that will be implemented from January 1st, 2020. This press conference brought together all journalists and civil society to discuss Djibouti Telecom's offers and thus explain the difficulties encountered by users in promoting the service as well as possible. The new offers of Djibouti Telecom are combo offer, data offer, and weekend offer. The Director General of Djibouti Telecom is pleased with the achievement and is committed to better serve its citizens. And in a speech, the director of Djibouti Telecom Company has expressed that it is at its outset the happiness to participate in the works of this conference and the importance of keeping pace with efforts and working together with all different authorities in order to move forward in achieving the achievements and to move forward in the world of technology in light of the developments witnessed by this leader. Also, where young people are in perseverance due to their great role in achieving development in the country and the importance of strengthening ties in order to achieve the purpose. The prefect of the city of Djibouti, Mr. Osman Belle Girre, presided over the meeting, a working meeting with the sub-prefect of Mr. Abdi Hassan and some officials of the National Police. This meeting is part of the sensitizations of the inhabitants of the Belas commune who are severely affected by the floods caused by heavy rains. Indeed, the officials have been asked by the prefect of the city to target all the problems raised in the meeting to take action to carry out their work. The prefecture is seeking the support of the civil society to put an end to this city center. In the Ali Sabih region, the Ministry of Health, in collaboration with the World Health Organization, WHO, organized an awareness workshop on the consequences of tobacco and drug addiction. Indeed, this workshop was aimed at community actors in the Ali Sabih region and was held at the Community Development Center. The prefect of the region, Musa Adam Ghane, sponsored this training as part of the activities of the anti-tobacco program initiated by the Ministry of Health. In addition, the technical advisor of the Ministry of Health and coordinator of the anti-tobacco program, Mr. Mohammed Daoud Dabar, led the awareness workshop on the consequences of this drug addiction. In Obok region, concerning the development of the national policy on disability, the National Agency of Disabled Persons closed precisely the prospective workshop. More details in this video.
Of the development of the national policy on disability, the National Agency for Disabled Persons closed partially in Obok its prospective workshops in the northern and southern regions on for the diagnosis and planning for the national strategy in on this Monday, December 16, 2019. The prefect and the regional council welcomed officials composed of the acting director general of the AMPH, Mr. Muhammad Ibrahim Hassan, the advisor to the Minister of Social Affairs and Solidarity, Mr. Abdullahi Saeed, Mr. Asawi Abdullahi in charge of the elaboration of the national strategy, and also Mrs. Arafu Muhammad Hassan, ANPH Lower. The main objective of his workshops was to discuss and exchange with local authorities on the disability situation in their respective regions, existing services, actions undertaken, or evidence to promote and protect people with disabilities. Also, focus groups were held with people with disabilities, parents of children with special needs, and representatives of disabled persons associations. More specifically, this includes empowering and promoting the participation and role of people with special needs.
Moving on to the international news, today Tuesday, firefighting authorities have informed thousands of people trapped in forest fires in southeast Australia. More details with Dini Musa.
And embers falling from the sky. The images circulating on social networks are striking. Thousands of people were forced to flee their homes and find refuge on beaches in Southeast Australia on Tuesday, 31 December, to escape the violent fires that are ravaging in this highly touristic region. The most worrying situation seems to be Malkota, a seaside resort where some 40,000 holidaymakers and residents have been stranded on the beach. In the darkened town, the authorities explained that the fires were the result of violent storms and a blaze of embers. Firefighters were deployed to protect those trapped. Dozens of properties have reportedly been destroyed since Monday, and at least 7 people are missing in the southeastern Australia states of New South Wales and Victoria.
The former president of the Renaissance Alliance, Carlos Ghosn, of Lebanese origin, confirmed today, Tuesday, that he is in Lebanon after he left Japan, where he is under house arrest after being accused of financial irregularities. More details in this video.
To be free from political persecution, the former boss from the Renault Nissan Mitsubishi Alliance, Carlos Ghosn, arrested in Japan a year ago, confirmed on Tuesday that he is in Lebanon, his homeland. The builder of the world's largest automobile alliance has fled the Japanese alliance, where he was under house arrest, awaiting trial for alleged financial embezzlement. A highly regulated freedom, Carlos Ghosn was even forbidden to speak to his wife. Under these conditions, how did he flee Japan? According to a Lebanese newspaper, the deposed boss arrived in Beirut on a plane from Turkey. I'm no longer a hostage of BS said Japanese judicial system where the presumption of guilty prevails.
That's all for this news. Thank you for joining us on the radio television of Djibouti, and Happy New Year.